Hey guys, AilouPup here, and today it's my June 2016 wrap-up, where I talk a little bit about all the books I read in the month of June 2016. It's a little late, but it is here. I went one up this month from last month and read 7 books this month instead of 6. First I read A Kiss of Shadows by Laurell Hamilton. I loved her Nada Blake books, and I had heard that her Mary Gentry books were good as well, so I wanted to give it a try. But to be honest, I didn't like it anywhere near as much as I liked Anita Blake. Basically, it has two main themes: sex and politics. If you don't like either sex or politics in your books, then this definitely is not the book for you. I hated giving a Laurell Hamilton book such a low rating, and I went back and forth between giving it a 3 or a 2, and originally I even gave it a 3. After talking to a friend of mine about the book who hadn't read it yet, I realized I just didn't think it deserved a 3, so I went back and gave it a 2 out of 5. Next was The Eye of Odin by Staginnus, and already my favorite read of the month. It was a suggestion from a friend of mine who doesn't actually read all that much, if at all, but the author used to be his teacher, so he suggested the book to me. It is definitely a children's book and follows 15-year-old Grail Rowan and Sarah Finn, who are each separately sent to the same museum in Vancouver, Canada, to steal the same Viking artifact. The difference is that Sarah knows about Vikings and witches and elves and whatever else there is, whereas Grail is pulled into this world where he doesn't really want to be. I loved this book so much as I was reading it, and I'm very much looking forward to the next one coming out. Hopefully later this year, I think is what I read. I've given this a 5 out of 5. I finished reading Chicken Soup for the Soul, Dreams and Premonitions by Newmark and Kylie Sullivan. I've been reading one story in the Chicken Soup for the Soul books per day, which is why these books take me so long to read, because there are 101 stories all about dreams and premonitions, so technically that is 101 days to finish each book. This particular book is all about dreams and premonitions that came true and even helped save lives, their own or someone else's. I've always enjoyed these types of books, and I've always given them very high ratings, and this one was no exception. I have given this a 5 out of 5. Then I read Demon Child by Kylie. I'd been meaning to read this for a while, but at the time I kept telling myself that I wanted to reread the entire series before I read this one, but I finally decided just to pick it up and read it, and I am glad that I did. It follows Emma Donohoe and John Shen as they prepare for war between heaven and hell. Reading it reminded me exactly of why I loved the series so much when I first read it, like 3 or 4 years ago now. And I'm very much looking forward to the last one coming out in my country in September. I have given it a 5 out of 5. Next I read King of the Mountain by Jack Boudreau. It's a bit different from what I normally read in that it doesn't have an exact story to it. In the beginning, it has an introduction talking about the bears and the wolves, how dangerous and terrible they are. Then it goes on to relay other stories, people who were wilderness guides, pilots. Some of the stories have bears in them, most do not. None have wolves. I'm really not sure what the point of the introduction was. I've given this a 2 out of 5. Next I read Wild Magic by Tamora. It follows Verladane Sarasuri, who travels to Korea after her home and family are destroyed by bandits, where she meets a woman who gives her work and takes her to Tordel and to Chorus. Verladane learns that her ability to communicate with animals is much more than it seems. This is the book that got me into reading Tamora Pierce about 2 or 3 years ago. I loved it then and I still do, though now I can say that it is definitely not her best written one, but it's the characters I love more than anything, and I have given it a 5 out of 5. Finally, I read Graceling by Kristin Cashore. It follows Lady Katsa, niece of King Randa, who is graced with, as she believes, killing. King Randa uses her to force his people into submission. One day she decides that she's had enough. She leaves with the Lined Prince Po to find whoever ordered the capture of Lined grandfather Prince Tilif. First time I read this, I gave it a 4 out of 5. While I do see why I gave it at the time, at the same time I no longer think it deserves a 4. I have given it a 3 out of 5 instead. These are all the books I read in the month of June, and I will have reviews up for A Kiss of Shadows, The Eye of Odin, and Graceling, if they're not up already, which at this point they're probably not, but they will be up shortly. I realized that I rated a lot of these books rather high, but I just had a really good reading month. My favorite is still The Eye of Odin, but I loved most of the other books as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more book-related videos from me.